and we're happy to have you. And we have more people coming, so it's always exciting. It's like we have a party, and it's come as you are, come when you can, and just come. So that's my motto. So anyway, I want to welcome all of you here that are listening to us, whether it's live, whether you're on the replay, wherever you are, whenever it is. Welcome. We're happy to have you. My name is Marilyn Shannon. This is SkyWire. And each and every week, my dear friends and I come together and we explore listening. What does it mean? What does it do for us? Where do we take it? How can we unravel this thing called life through our ears, our eyes, our mouth, our touch, our taste, our sensitivities? How do we figure it out? And listening is that bridge. It's the trail that takes us into all these grooves, and they are groovy. So let's welcome our panel today, and maybe I see Heidi's coming in. Margarita, hey.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome. And Elaine.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
And Dave.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. And then Heidi and Mark, I'm sure, will be coming. They're busy getting from one hangout to another. So they're flying through the air, and they will be here.
We are here.
Okay.
But
so
not yet on camera. I don't know why, but...
Okay. Here you come.
Here we are.
All right. Hey, whoa, don't you all look purty today? Welcome. How are you? My lips match your shirt.
Yeah.
We didn't even plan it. Yeah. How are you doing today? Everybody good?
Oh.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
We'll give you a moment to figure out. So today, it's so interesting because you know my pattern of coming up with the ideas for the shows. They kind of, I wait, and sometimes they come really quick, and sometimes it's a little struggle. And the interesting thing is I've had a really busy week, and so when this was started, this title somewhat was started last week when we were on the show about what we only know what we know, we don't know what we don't know, and listening helps us along the road to expanding, exploring, which I got to say, last week's conversation about bucket lists was really good because I'm adding things to my bucket list. So I want to thank everyone because it was everlasting for me. So last night, and I was struggling in this, the feeling arrived that, this is good. This is what I think would be the right thing to do. This morning I woke up and I thought, putting our ears together and listening was I loved it. I wish I had it last night because it would have been the title. But I didn't have it till today. And I'm like, okay, it came when it came. So today we're going to put our ears together. And we're going to see, what messages are we getting? Are we getting some of the same messages? Are we getting different messages? What is it you want to learn? What are you curious about that you're waiting to hear? Like and I'm open to where it goes. I saw the picture that Dave posted about that space, where we don't know, and that's where all the good transformational stuff happens. It does. That was beautiful. So I'm open to what this looks like. I am in a place of curiosity, my personal self. I'm in a place of a different kind of fearless than I think I've experienced before. So I'm ready to hear what you all say. And Dave says, not me. Grr, do you mean you're not fearless? Oh, who said that? Elaine, you said that?
We don't have a lower third.
Oh, you don't?
No, I can't get them to work.
No, they're not working today. They just aren't.
Were they working before?
Before with me, but not with Elaine and not with the others. No,
Very
not
true.
even with me.
Well, tell everybody who you are.
Oh, me?
Yeah, do a live lower third.
I'm Heidi Hörnlein from the Wisdom Factory and Connection Forums and from the Cultural Association Paradiso Integrale in Italy, where I host together with my beautiful husband a guest house and a seminar house or whatever. Come over and see, okay?
Oh, and I would be Mark, and she said it all, actually. And happy to be here, and happy to wonder, what are we curious about? Really am.
Me too.
Afterwards.
Yeah, me too. And what about you, Mr. Dave?
Right. I'm Dave Moore, and I'm currently from HPT Transformation, and all that is about the change, which will keep you posted.
All right.
But
Can't wait to hear that.
yeah, there's a name change and a web change, so we're how can I put it, regenerating. And we run seminars, and we sell courses, and we do one-on-one, we do group sessions, but mainly seminars. And we've got some big seminars around the world coming up next year, all based around personal or business transformation.
Beautiful. Beautimous. Elaine?
In lieu of lower thirds, I have gone the low-tech version. Hi, I am Elaine Nieberding. I am also known as @LaughingElaine, and I am the host of the, on Google Plus and YouTube, The Holy Shift Show. And what am I about? I'm about helping people come together so we can gift each other, lift each other, and get through these paradigm shift times together with a little more F words fun, fulfillment, and L words levity. And I am thrilled that we're talking about curiosity today, and maybe we'll elaborate on this later.
Okay. You got my curiosity up.
Mm-hmm.
And Margarita, what about you?
Yes, I'm sort of took in what you said about this, and I just did this for you here. I'm all ears. I am here. I am, and I hear. And so my purpose here is to stay in the present moment and see what's happening in each moment. The last moment, my name was Margarita Crystal Lotus from the crystallotus.com, but this moment can change. And so I'm curious about what these changes are going to be. Currently, I'm writing a book about chakras, healing, and it's a coloring book, believe it or not. And I just started a whole month, every day, writing every day from November 1 to November 30th, and at November 30th, this book will be done. And I'm building a community of people who wants to color in pictures, and anyone who is interested, email me at gents@thecrystallotus.com. And that was my little plug-in there. And I don't know what's going to happen next.
That's a really nice place to be, I think. So I am Marilyn Shannon. I am a business and life coach. I host SkyWire and another show each week, and there's a lot of things that I do, so I don't want to list them. One of the things that I'm so passionate about are people coming together and connecting and realizing their worth, but ultimately their freedom. I believe that we have made life way too difficult and complicated, and I want to help show people that connecting is a lot easier. Knowing who we are is a lot easier than we've given it credit for, and we don't have to be controlled and fearful of other people and governments and all kinds of stuff. We can stand on our own 2 feet, and we can stand together. And I have a not a title, I guess my own personal quote is, the more united we are, the more independent we will be. And so that's one of my things. So today, and I want to welcome all of you that are listening. I'm going to every now and then go like this so I could read it. So if you see me doing that, that's why. So feel free to contact us, connect with us, send us messages. We'd love to hear from you. If I can't see it or respond, I know somebody in this room will. So putting our ears together. How can we support each other, whether we're putting our ears together to hear, to listen for each other, or what are you listening to? What are you hearing? What is it you don't know? What are you curious about? What do you wonder about? I mean, and a lot of us are talking about what's next. We don't know, and we're okay. We're listening for that, and that's exciting. Not knowing is exciting. So what are you curious about? Margarita, what are you curious about?
I'm curious about how I connect and integrate the question that you just asked. So I'm taking it into my brain, into my consciousness, whatever, and and now I see on my keyboard here, I look at the shift key. I just stepped out and my gaze came on the shift key on my keyboard, funnily enough. So I guess that's a message from Spirit to say to me that I have to shift, I have to adjust to new things and see more things that is relevant for me now. And this involves a lot of different areas because, as I said, I'm a recluse here in Kingston, like spent 3 years here and cocooning myself, and that was a good way of healing from some kind of previous experience, and that's what I'm writing now and focusing and deciding to write. And so I would like to be inspired by this moment so that all of this content inside of my heart can actually settle a little bit, and then I can look at it, oh, that's what's going to happen now. And I don't want to force it.
And that's the ticket. And there is a difference between forcing, I think, and I don't know, but sometimes when you listen, sometimes the universe might say, you need to push that door open. You need to force it. And then other times, forcing is not what you're supposed to necessarily do. So listening really helps you figure it out. So based on what Margarita said, either any of you are more than welcome to address what she said, or you can bring up something else. Either way, we're just going to listen to what comes and trust it. So Elaine.
Well, I appreciate that Margarita talked about really being in the moment, listening in the moment. And with our topic being, let's put our ears together, it suggests to me that the more and more we're aware that we're a part of this beautiful collective communal dance going on, this period in time where consciousness and awareness of our unity is expanding, and that as we listen for our individual expression and curiosities and things to say and ways to serve, when we're listening closely to that, it's in response to this whole thing out there. And we're less and less acting independently to protect and defend things, but rather more and more, in my mind, experience our sense of unity, our sense of connection, and ultimately the joy that really comes with that. We're safe in this expanded sense of unity and joyful.
So is there something in particular you're curious about?
Well, I'm curious right now about the awarenesses that emerge for people who are going through processes like me of shedding a lot of stuff. I'm going through a major declutter project in my home. This is something that I've only done on the surface for a long, long time. Um, I'm now doing it deep, and I'm also engaging community in conversation with a Declutter Day weekly program over on Blab. But I'm aware that, you know, the physical decluttering really parallels the letting go of the mental stuff and the emotional stuff. So I'm curious about my own awarenesses that are emerging as I do this. And I'm also curious about, you know, like who'll come up and join my party of conversation about it so that we can bless each other through the process.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So it's so cool because, you know, one of the first things I thought about when I was listening to you was, you know, we put ourselves in, well, I don't know, we find ourselves in a place of vulnerability and, you know, being like upfront and sharing, you know, like you sharing that now you're taking it deeper. You know, there's nothing to hide, nothing to hide. So I appreciate so much both of you saying what you've been saying. So thank you, because it is about freedom. Mr. David, you're writing there, you're smiling.
No, just making notes of what Margarita and Elaine said. You know, it's quite in tune with the current thinking that we've got here for part of our program, is that people should be in the moment and be aware and listen, you know, to what's going on around them, because the clues are there. You know, the cycle of our day, sometimes something happens that delays us, like we trip over when we get out of bed. You know, if hot water's not working, we have to wait for the hot water to come through. You know, we can't find a particular shirt or pair of socks. You know, you get annoyed with these things. But these things happen, and they happen for a reason, because if you had started your day without that happening, it's quite possible that you could be out of sync with the cycle of the day. And so these things sometimes are delaying us, and it's exactly what you said earlier about the universe is sometimes not only giving us things, but it's saying this, wait a second, because something better is coming. And if we persist in going forward and ignoring these signs, then it doesn't turn out the way it should. It doesn't turn out the way that we want. It doesn't happen the way we want it to. And so what we've got to do is feel the moment, see the moment, and hear the moment. Exactly the same as we would be using 3 of our multitude of senses, seeing things, hearing things, and feeling things. If we do that on a consistent basis in the moment, we'll pick up the signs, because the signs are all around us. There are signs everywhere. I did a post, I think about 2-3 weeks ago. It might not have been that far back, but it was to do with the signs. You know, and you look at things, but you reframe them. So the signs are everywhere. You can, if you've got a fan in your room, it could be telling you to be cool. The window could be telling you to see the world. The clock could be telling you that every minute is precious. A mirror could be telling you to reflect before you act on something. You know, the door could be saying push hard for your goals. You know, the corner says you can always fight your way out of me. The shower says wash yesterday away because today is a blank canvas. A notebook can tell you to read me for direction. These things are everywhere if we look for them, and we tend not to look for them because we don't realize that these signs are around us all the time, impregnating our life, impregnating our mind, and there's signals being given to us, and we have to listen out for what people say, for what people do, for what we say and what we do. They're there all the time, and we have to be in the moment for it.
Beautifully said. So what is there something in particular that was really beautiful? Was there something in particular you are curious about?
I'm always curious about the same thing, and that is where the universe is going to direct me next. And I'm consciously looking always for a sign, and I'm curious as to what my next sign is. My life has been so diverse, and so many strange and surreal things happen. Some negative things like car crash, some positive things come out of that. It's a life that's been up and down like a roller coaster. But the beauty is that when you listen to the signs and the signals that come to you, you're not tied to the track waiting for the roller coaster to come along and run you over. You're sitting in the roller coaster, riding it. And you're sitting in the car riding the roller coaster, and that's the difference when you listen. And that's what I continue. I'm doing more now than ever. I can plan and work on something, and then I get a signal that this isn't wrong, and I push it to one side because I know at some point I'm going to get a signal going, whoa, bring that back, because it's now is right. So I'm not a deadline person. I just listen for signs.
Perfect. Cool. That was great. Heidi, Mark?
Okay. I want to say that I think my main characteristic is curiosity from very early childhood on, and which has always driven me to do things which, if I had planned them, I wouldn't have done them. For instance, go to Italy or become a singer, or instead of becoming something serious, or all these things, or being now here on Hangouts, or being together with him, for instance. Wow. So I have always followed the line of curiosity. And my main curiosity is I want to understand people, and I want to understand life, and I want to understand the whole, I would say universe, but today I would say I want to understand evolution. And so in some way I want to respond to Elaine when she said something like a new paradigm shift and something comes better. I know something comes, but it's not necessarily better. We learn from evolution that our mentor Jeff Salzman says evolution is beautiful but not always pretty. And when you live in Europe and know about what is going on here, and today we listened to a very interesting talk. Do you remember the name of this guy?
John Frieden.
No, yeah,
Friedman.
Friedman, yeah, it's an Hungarian person who is evaluating the situation in where we are in here in Europe from a very deep perspective. So there is no reason to be very trustful that we will go on as we went on so far. It can be really a backlash. The European Communion can fall out, and he gave very good reasons, and what this would have a consequence on the whole world, but for sure on Europe. And I'm very curious about how this happens, and then what is leading to it. I was saying to Mark before, if we finally could be rational, if in our behavior, in our human behavior, if you would finally be able to see the consequences of what we are doing, but we are not. So my endeavor is to ever more open the possibility to see things from ever more perspectives, to include ever more factors into what I see and what I think about it and what I need to do. So and help other people to do that, because it's we are a little bit in the mindset, oh, everything gets better. It might not. So okay, you.
Yeah. Starting with that same point, we're in some of the same kind of space today, having watched the show. But ever since I was a small child, I just absolutely assumed that things were just going to get better and better. forever, just onward and upward, and so it's led me, and I think a whole generation or more of people to ignore what wasn't getting better, it, just to not look at our more primitive aspects, not to look where we've been, but to look around and say, how could so-and-so do such a thing to someone? How, the cruelty and the things that do happen, the barbarism that goes on. And, we're getting to a point where we can't ignore that anymore, and we can't just point the finger at other people. We have to look at ourselves and see that we, too, each of us, I think, are capable of unspeakable things depending on the conditions we find ourselves in.
Can I interrupt here? Yeah. The idea that at this moment it's heavy rains and so on, there are thousands and thousands of people somewhere in Yugoslavia trying to go over to Austria or to Germany, have no shelter, nothing. And we are living our lives as if nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Only keeping this in mind, that we don't want really to know what is going on mm-hmm. with other people and what situations they are. And we don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands of people at the same time being somewhere and wanting to be fed and wanting to find a house. And how do we do that,
So what are we hearing about all of this? I mean, what are we hearing? Go ahead.
The hearing for me is that we have the tendency to be in our own ideas how life should go, and we forget that there are people who have completely different problems. Yeah. Survival and finding a way to be in some safe place, and that's what I'm hearing. That we are too self-centered in our Western world. All of us.
So if we got that message, what would that look like?
That message of
being too self-centered. How would we fix things, or how would things get better?
Well, we've got to go in two directions at once. We've got to go upward into higher development, so they can really take us an intelligent, inclusive, compassionate look at what's going on in the world and what is really needed to be done. And we have to go downward into our most primitive selves to understand why that can be and how we could be like that. We have to be inclusive of all of these parts of ourselves before we can actually make any kind of intelligent decisions about what to do. And this is the job that I'm looking at. This is the thing I'm curious about. How can I know enough about what I can become as well as what I have been in order to, really be effective and intelligent and make a difference in myself and the world. Yeah, that's the curiosity.
So let's put our ears together, because listening does do something with that dichotomy. Listening helps elevate you in some regard to compassion, and if you're not compassionate, you're not listening. But it also there's that listening / awareness and the feelings, because when you listen, you open up your emotions. You can't be void of them. You have to be able to see these things, but in a way be balanced. Otherwise, we can't. If we fall apart, we're not good either. So what does our listening, what are we hearing to do? Margarita.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on what Mark said about the better, like it's going to get better or not better. That better, it's a value judgment that we use, because we always relate to a better reality, let's say, from our own perception. So that it's like it gets complicated. So if it's going well or not well, it's just a value judgment that we do. Maybe it's better if we die right away and save 4,000 people, and in the next lifetime we're going to be enlightened. We can't know if that's better or not in the moment. We can have an opinion about it, but if you look at the evolution on the Earth, it's very traumatic, you know. Volcanoes are blowing up and spewing all kinds of fire and ashes. But that fire and ashes and the heat actually contributes to life. It's proven that because of the volcanic action, that is why life on the Earth actually could happen in the first place. And it also dispelled some of the ice ages that was on the planet. It's proven. And it's like very interesting to study that. But in the process, numerous beings died. It was like, but we're coming back. If you believe in reincarnation, you probably have to letting go of okay, I can die any moment, or I could be this or that, or this happened to me. This is just a small little area of our personal perception. So if we can actually go from that small version until a more wider view and listening to what the whole picture says. I mean, I don't know what the whole picture is, but I could rise above my little, spot here in this house in Kingston and see, oh, there is people about in Syria, there is people in South Africa, there is people around the world, and then have an awareness of what's going on for them. And that makes my life more richer and more inclusive, I say.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's perfect. And I agree with you about some of what we see as a devastation is really it's kind of a mask for not. But we do have some comments. So do any of you want to bring it up, or do you want me to bring it up?
I don't have the comment tracker on, so if you want to bring it up, do it. And I wanted to answer a moment to you, Marilyn. Everything which emerges needs to have space. So before a new emergence must have be a deconstruction of the old to a certain degree. So, to say Margarita is right, to say good or better or bad, it's really a relative standpoint. But when it's threatening your own life, you probably would say it's bad.
Exactly. Okay, so here is a comment, and I want to thank you very much for commenting, because they're really good ones. So things would get better when human consciousness raises above the physical limitations. That's true. And then here's another one, or I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe. Oh, wait. Hold on. I just clicked the wrong thing. There we go. All right. The major problem in the Western world is thinking that they know everything, which is incorrect. Coming back to the geopolitical situations, it is almost always people who believe they know trying to impose their knowledge on someone else. Let's see. Is there more to that? Let's see.
He says that he is agreeing with me. That is the rest of the comment. This is Vivek, by the way, our very faithful watcher. Yeah. Thank you, Vivek.
That's I don't know what's true and what's not true anymore on some level. That's what's so interesting. But I do know that, I don't know ultimately, and that's why I think I know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know how it, I don't know. So who else has who's got something? Elaine, go ahead.
Okay. Well, one of the things that over the past few years I've been curious about, and in the last month or two I've found heightened curiosity about, is something called the Disclosure Project. And this is the work of a gentleman named Dr. Stephen Greer, who for the last couple decades has been collecting eyewitness testimonies from people in all realms of government and corporate arenas and military arenas about basically the cover-ups that have been going on for decades about the higher level intelligences that have been communicating with humankind and indeed have been a part of human evolution, and down to the fact that the cover-ups of all of this involve all levels of government, corporate arena, and some believe that we're really in a time where there has been kind of a planned readiness for us to kind of get more consciously connected and publicly connected with our galactic neighbors who indeed are here. My investigation on this, and to the extent that I believe the work and the reports of Dr. Stephen Greer are true and bona fide, it's led me to think about even conversations that I want to have with my husband and my son over the next couple weeks about the potential changes that are coming in our world. Stephen Greer actually says that we have within our capability here on the planet right now all of the technologies to solve all of our energy problems, all of our water problems, all the problems we have solutions for. They've been buried, they've been hidden because we've been in the polarized kind of consciousness, us against them, and scarcity consciousness. But I believe, as I've seen over the last 20, 30 years, this shift of consciousness happening where individual people are waking up to their inner power, their sense of identity, which goes beyond that of just, saying, I'm a human being, I'm a human body that I have to defend and protect. Our sense of identity is shifting, and it's impacting the emergence of the topics that we talk about in public arenas. Anyway, that's what I'm curious about, and yet because of the friendships and the relationships that I've developed with people I can more and more feel I can have honest conversations with, I have great hope. I have great hope. And for all of those that I would even see are, great grabbers on of power, I try to look beyond the most outer obvious definitions and manifestations of them to remember the core of spirit and the unifying stuff underneath. When I do that, then I can move into a place of forgiveness, which is back to the idea of, oh man, there's so much I don't know. There's so much about the whole bigger picture I don't know. I'm curious, but I do have great hope. I do have great hope.
I do too. Thank you for saying everything. It was like a sermon. And I agree. I have great hope. I can see the light.
No, and I got really bold to talk about, this is really the first time I've admitted that this is something that I read and reflect on, and I actually want to have more conversations about, both publicly and privately with, you folks.
Well, here we are. Mark, yeah.
Oh, I just want to compliment Elaine.
Wait. Oh, he's on. Okay, good.
I pushed it myself.
Oh, are you able to? Glad.
I want to compliment Elaine for daring to bring this up, because we all have these edges of what is possible, what is just far out and schizo paranoid, kind of chatter. What's acceptable to talk about? What is it better that we keep quiet about? And it's so wonderful. I know that Stephen Greer that you mentioned, and I haven't seen anything for him for some time, but I know that he's a credible person. And there are all kinds of edge areas that each of us reach out into, and we tend to keep them private and to ourselves because we're not sure if it's okay to believe in these kinds of things. Alien visitors, or, people would, as late as the 60s, if you mentioned that, they'd put you in a mental hospital. They would. We can talk about it now. That's wonderful. What else do we just barely dare to bring up? The things we're really curious about, but can't quite say. Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Now that was a long pause on this show, let me tell you.
Do you know what? I could push us even further down the rabbit hole. I've been studying this kind of stuff for almost 10 years as an alternative to what's normally the mainstream of it, of the world, the politics and everything. And the thing with the energy crisis, the water crisis, famine, we do have technology to stop all of it. And we do have the technology to put it all right. But some governments don't find that to be acceptable because there is a plan by them for us. And unfortunately, the plan is being superseded by what's outside of this earth. The reason we're here is because of people out there. And we are getting these signals and signs from outside of this earth. And you only need to go back a little while to find that the space race is a clear example of it. The space race from 1957, when we just managed to get a man in orbit, to 10 years later, or 11 or 12 years later, when we were driving a car around on the moon. Now, we got this technology somewhere, because if you look at the timeline of the Earth, we didn't have it 100 years ago. We didn't have it 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 years ago, however far you want to go back. Yet in this small, constrained period of time, we've got all of this information, and we're doing all of this stuff now. And we are in communication. I think a lot of it is suppressed and withheld, because the first thing that would happen would be panic. And then accountability as to why we weren't told before. Are we that stupid that we can't deal with it? Are we that dumb that we can go and look at the night sky and think, we're the only people in the whole universe? There's no other life out there. When you consider that part of our solar system would take 3.5 billion years to cross, and that is one microspec in the whole thing, it's ludicrous to say that we're not getting this information from somewhere. So I am one of those people who is constantly curious about how this is going to play out. And it's a perception that we have. Perceptions are great, but they're not reality. We perceive it, but it's not the real picture. It's no different from when someone went up to Wittgenstein years ago and said, when Copernicus said that we orbit the sun, before that, people thought that the sun orbited the Earth. What would that have been like? Well, it would have looked exactly the same as it does now. The sun would have gone down and it would have come up, except that it was going around us. It's the perception of it and our standpoint. And I am one of those people that needs to speak with Elaine. Because when I go out with my friends, we start off with, what are you going to order? And then we start off with, how's your day been? And then it goes to religion, politics, UFOs, psychology, and before we know it, we've got 4 or 5 tables of people who we didn't know all talking to us. Because people do this. People do talk in their close-knit community, in their circle of friends, and are afraid to say these sort of things. And I say, the hell with that.
Well,
You've got to spread the word.
That's why I wanted to do this. That's, I mean, a big reason why I do everything I do. And I wish I could figure out how to have more people engaged in these conversations. Because I mean, everything you're talking about, I could ditto and I want to sit here and copy and say it myself. I can't say it exactly the way you did. Each of you say your thing, your way, and I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel. And I would say it that way. I believe everything you're saying, and this is why I want these conversations. I don't want people afraid to say anything.
Can I just say one thing that makes people think about something? I wouldn't say that I was a believer in God as God portrayed in the Bible. Because when you look at the Bible, you've got 4 different descriptions of the crucifixion by 4 different people who were there. So why don't they all appear to have some similarity? But then, if you look at the crucifixion, the crucifixion, a lot of religion is based on the fact that Christ rose from the dead. Fine, okay. That means he was the Son of God. Well, didn't Lazarus rise from the dead? But he wasn't the Son of God. Didn't it say when Christ was being crucified that the dead rose from the dead and walked the earth? Well, they're not the sons of God. So the confusion that we have in things that we take literally, when in fact they are just a guide of generalizations. And I am one of those people who think that when Moses went up the mountain and got the 10 Commandments, the smoke, the roar, the thunder, the burning on his skin, wasn't that radiation? Could that have been something up there giving him something and then going? Was that a storm? You could go deeper and look at it from a completely different context, exactly the same way as you can look at what we're told on the news, what we read in the newspapers. If we take it for granted that that's the way it is, then we are limiting our mind to all the other options, and in those other options could be the truth.
That's why listening is so important. That's why what you're all doing, what we're all doing right now, is exactly what I didn't know what I waited for, but didn't know what it was. I know that if we put our ears together and we listen, the information is right there. It's right there. Margarita, I thank you very much for the picture too. I wanted to say she sent me the picture of me as a mermaid, I guess. And I want to thank you. I'd like to put those up too, because I think there's a method to some of my madness, and I think that when people see this as being fun, this kind of a show, maybe more people will come.
There's the mermaid.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Can I say something about the mermaid?
Yeah, of course.
And so in my book, I explore that I'm writing about now about chakras, and we have a tradition from very long past that the marine life is the womb of where we come from, and then we went onto land and evolved with all kinds of help, I guess, and then we became humans. But in that process, there were also people who actually went, or beings who went back into the oceans again, and that's why we have dolphins and whales, and also possibly mermaids. And I had a tremendous transformational experience being a water being in a healing session sometime. That was in 1997. There is so much to this story of human evolution that is not written in the history book. And I could personally verify that from my own experience, whether it was some image that something else popped in my mind. But it was a vivid experience that I couldn't dismiss it. I couldn't dismiss it. And that was that in the beginning, many long time ago, maybe before this era, you know, whether it was in Atlantis or Lemuria, whatever, I don't know. But there was a community of being who was very conscious, and this was way before the fall like in the Bible, right? And these beings, I had this experience going in to the ocean and actually experienced the devastation of a city on the bottom of the ocean, and it was no life there. And then I came closer, and you know, in the healing session, you are in a sort of a dream state, right? And then I came into this area, going into the city at the bottom of a very clear ocean, and then I realized when I touched the stones and the buildings that, oh my God, I have been here before. I have lived here. I have had some other experiences. I was one of these beings, and what the beings was doing, they gathered into the middle of the city and have dances of joy and excitement and something like that, celebrating their being. And then there was a dome over the city that amplified it so that it was an energy generator for the whole area in that part of the world that fed all of the energy needs that anyone there could use. And so this is why emotions are so important, to actually generate the happiness and the love in your heart and then expressing it in a joyful way, like the dances. However, the fall came and was invaded about some other species that wanted that power source, and we're still under those beings' power right now. But we're waking up. I see my sisters and brothers from that time, even though they maybe don't know it, that they are waking up to see who they really are, who is this person. It's a very ancient soul, and there are lots of us here on the earth. I think that it may resonate to you. And so the end of the era of these invaders are really, really, really to its end. Because soon as the heart is engaged and freed, all the issues inside freed, so then that's enlightenment, right? But the thing I wanted to say is we have to rise above what the banks, the government, and all of these things are doing, and see it from a very detached space, and then you will see different, completely other solutions to community, to how we integrate with feelings and building a better place here. That's my little thing.
That was another sermon. My God. I don't even.
We're getting into deep
Whoa.
shit here today.
Listen, I want to ask, hold on, Margarita, but all the stuff that's going on in the chat, is there a way to copy that?
Yeah, you could just copy and paste it, I think.
Okay, because I can't do it, but if anybody can do that, I would love that to kind of, so we all can kind of see it, because there's a lot going on, and that's important. Margarita, that was amazing.
And I'm writing about this in my book. So my book is going to be done by the end of November, and it's a coloring book. And then I explain how the colors that we generate from our heart with the feeling of love, joy, peace, and serenity, it's the energy source that we really need to engage, to actually come above all of these mechanisms that are very, very hard and heavy and cruel and evil.
I don't know how this is connected to what you're talking about, but I have a colleague here who is a PhD, and he's amazing with all that he does. But he's working on something with whales, and he is doing research, and he has film and all this stuff, and he's got this other guy working with him, that whales communicate through pictures. They can prove it. So I don't know what that means and how it's connected to what you're talking about, but I feel like there's some connection.
There is a great connection there. There is a huge connection. And as I saw you as a mermaid, that is the basis for that, because you are listening, you are doing this show, you have attracted these people who have come here, and maybe this is the showdown time.
Well, you know, while you were talking, I was thinking to myself, you know, I can express myself okay, but I'm much better at listening and facilitating the expression and the discussions than I am I find myself in that role a lot, you know, where I am facilitating these conversations, whether it's the show, whether it's this show, whatever it is. I'm much better at doing that than I am at all that you all do. So, phew, boy, that was like, Who's, yeah, Dave.
No, I think Mark was going to speak.
Okay, Mark. Yeah, I didn't see. Go ahead.
Or Heidi, I think one of those were going to speak.
I wasn't going to speak.
I thought it looked like it to me, like you were going
to... You can say something.
Well, since I'm on, this is really amazing. I think we all have these edges of curiosity, these intimations of things that are not in mainstream conversation. But I think if we get close to people, everybody has some insight, maybe not insight, but some intimation of things like we've been talking about today. You know, and and you don't have to be a terribly advanced person to this. I think this happens at every level of sophistication. Of course, if it's someone who's not very sophisticated, what the intimation must be expressed in ways that we might think was kind of simplistic or too literal or isn't that sweet. But nonetheless, these forces are there. And as part of our makeup, we have it. We have antenna that we never talk about. You know, we get the information. Things come in. They seep in through the cracks in the official reality, the consensus reality that we share in our day-to-day lives. I want to, however, put in a plug for consensus reality. It's a kind of glue that holds us together, so that we can go in these individual directions and still not kill each other or not fight about who's right about what we suspect, etc.
You are so right on
We
right
need the whole
now.
picture.
You are so right on right now. You
There
are
is another
so right
comment
on
that it's another comment I wanted to make to that, and the end of this experience I had. Thank you, Mark, for saying these things that you did. But the experience finished with that I came and saw the devastation of these invaders, and the only way to preserve my being was to forget it, to become numb to it, and then disappear, and coming back and trying to uncover and open up those shut doors over many lifetimes. And this is, I think, all the movements of waking up, being awake, being conscious. I think that is going on for a lot of people these days. Because we have sort of been in a waking hypnosis state, sleeping while awake, and then being programmed by other forces to do and to buy, to conquer to what the people in power are doing.
So I have to go, and I hate to end this, but I have a meeting I have to get to, and this has been like off the charts. So, Dave, did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to bring it back to the very beginning. This is really symbolises what we said at the very start. There's what we know. There's what we know we don't know, which we deal with, those two, all the time. But the third part of it is what we don't know that we don't know. It's like we know that there's something, but we don't know about it. And we don't know what it entails. We have the idea because we're intelligent beings. And we have freedom of will, and we have freedom of thought. And once you've got that, you're a very powerful person because you just don't take things by face value. So this business about what we don't know, we don't know. There's so much. This is like a mental dark web. You know, with a dark web, there is the stuff that you don't see on the normal web, where you can buy bombs and guns and find information and computer hacking. But the dark web of our mind is what people are not talking about. But they're not scared to, because once we find people who want to talk about it, we don't stop.
That's right.
Until we're with people who just can't take it. Yeah.
Well, I think this has been fabulous, and I would go on and on, but I have a meeting I have to get to. But I really thank you all for going exactly where each of you went, and for listening and listening to bring it up. You all have hit such phenomenal points. So this has been one of the best ones ever. And growth on all of our parts. I can see how SkyWire has supported, or this notion of listening has supported each of us in our growth. I can feel it for myself. I can see it in Elaine. I can see it in Margarita. I can see it in Dave. I can see it in Heidi and Mark. It's phenomenal. This is exactly, and it's amazing. So anyway, I'm going to shut up because I got to go. But
we can see it in you as well.
Thank you. I'm going to ask. Thank you. I appreciate that really so much. So, okay, everyone, come back next week and listen to this again, because there's some amazing things. So, thank you for being here.
Okay.